Alright guys, it's the Genius with Lean Keto-Times, and got my keto meal here with grass-fed beef burger patties and pasteurized eggs, and then some avocado, tomato, olives, a little mustard, and I've got my Spider Bite Venom recipe for cocoa, unsweetened cocoa, a little stevia, some cinnamon, and some vanilla. And then I got my Spider Bite Venom drink, which is carbonated water, and a little lemon juice, and what else? Also, if I was fasting, I would be having some salt, some potassium. And anyways, today I'm going to talk some more about Code Approach, which is a new revolutionary software programming that I'm learning, program that I'm learning to code myself, actually, and hopefully try to get some others involved, but it doesn't matter, it's going to get done one way or the other. And the topic that I chose today is Code Approach is a binary state. In the pickup community, especially early on in the early 2000s, or I should say mid 2000s, there was a lot of talk in the community about state, how to get in the state, why you should be in state. And later on, it turned into a whole debate about whether or not being in the state was necessary. And of course, I like to follow Ozzy and from RSD, and he always said the state was not necessary. And you can be in the state, which is fine, but you should be able to go ahead and do your job regardless if you're in a state or not. And that's where I want to kind of touch on a little bit, because in Code Approach, when you programming software, or just the whole general idea of computers and how they work, is it's just basically a binary code. So that means basically it doesn't matter what text you see on the screen or what graphics or anything like that. At the end of the day, that program is turned into a machine language or a machine code that turns everything into a 0 or 1. And then the computer can allocate that information to memory, which is basically a light switch. It's just either, it's on when it's a 1, and it's off when it's a 0. And when you think about that, I'm not sure how long computers have been around, but it's not necessarily a new technology. It's actually been, the technology we use today is actually pretty old, because it's still based upon that 0 1 light switch. As a matter of fact, you can almost say it goes back to Edison, Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, because once they figured out that the way we make the light bulb work, if it's on, that means it's positive. If you switch the light bulb off, it's 0. So transistors and a microchip and all that are just basically light switches that just turn the pixels on or off, and that gives you the graphics, gives you the text, and so on and so forth. So anyways, without going too much more into that, I'll just use that analogy to say that pickup is the same thing. We have an unlimited amount of possibilities when it comes to human interaction. Just like in computers, you have an unlimited possibility when it comes to creating graphics and text and so forth. But at the end of the day, it boils down to either a positive reaction or a negative reaction, which you can kind of say is your zeros and your ones. And I'm going to write an article about this, but people don't like to, well, I shouldn't say people don't like, people just don't know that, that's the way you should look at it. But a lot of people, if they were to find out that's the way basically everything works, is they would be kind of depressed about it, takes the human emotion out of it. Which brings me to my next point, which is why you don't want to be in a state. You don't want to be emotional about things, which is very hard to do because we are human beings. We're not machines. The fact that we do have emotions is actually what makes us superior to machines, and we always will be. You can have all the artificial intelligence you want, but at the end of the day, no computer is going to decide in of itself to program itself and make itself better, because that requires an emotion, requires creativity. So, but when it comes to pickup, trying to get consistent results, and this is the challenge for human beings, is that anytime they create something, anytime they want to do something, you first use your emotions and your creativity to give you the vision. But then after you get the vision, then you gotta step aside from that and get practical. And to get practical requires that you remove the emotion and you reduce everything down to a 0 or a 1. And so basically, this article I'm writing, Code Approach, is a state of binary. Is a binary state. It's going to talk about how you want to first work with your fears. So that's the process of removing the emotion, and then that will allow you to learn the techniques and the technical aspect of game that has a higher probability of working, so that you get consistent results. And you'll find that once you remove that emotional aspect to it, once you remove the aspect of being emotional from game, you can get a lot more consistent results. And even when you get rejected or something, it's just no different than a 0 or 1. So you're not you don't care whether or not you take a girl home or get a makeout or something like that, and you don't care if she rejects you. Yeah, it's kind of fun later on after a while to kind of say, yeah, I was able to accomplish something because I had this vision and I set out to do it and it worked. But at the end of the day, you almost have to be cynical about things. And I'm a believer in Stoicism, where Marcus Aurelius, he would talk about how it's not necessarily so much about what you're trying to accomplish. It's more or less about just going about the process. And you understand that a binary code like a 0 or 1, it's got nothing to do with the result. The result is either an indication that it's a 0 or 1. The light is either on or it's off. So how does this work out in the real field, or in the pickup? Well, what I've noticed for a long time now, because I've been doing pickup for a long time, is that looking at it this way is the only way to get emotionally detached. And you'll find that you become an executor, which is what a program is. You know, a program is basically a microchip and a program that executes code. That's what it is. So pickup, it's actually the same thing. You want to be able to find the code or find the techniques and so forth that works after you remove the emotion and the fear and execute it. Sometimes you get an error message, which is probability theory. You know, that margin of error, or computers, that's a malfunction. But usually, 80 to 90% of the time, you get the results that you want. And, that's the best you can really hope for. So let's say you go up to a girl and you're doing all the right things as far as body language and eye contact, voice tonality, close proximity, so on and so forth. You'll notice how relaxed you are, because, and I hate to say this, but it's the only way to describe it, but you're almost in a semi-depressed state, which is a lot different than this whole idea in the pickup community that you need to be in state. And the reason why being in state gets you in trouble is because, first of all, it's not sustainable. You cannot expect results and think you're going to go out there into the field and spend half hour or so and try to stay in state the whole time and hopefully pull a girl because you're in state. It doesn't really work that way. You'll crash quicker than anything. Whereas a stoic's kind of cynical, he's kind of pessimist about everything, because everything's just a 0 or 1. And if you're semi-depressed, people stay depressed for years. So it's actually a lot more sustainable state to be in when it comes to pickup. Not just in general, but when it comes to pickup. So, now, that means you still got to apply the 4 fundamentals. And those 4 fundamentals, you're basically faking it. Because the 4 fundamentals, the smile on your face and the eye contact and the laid back body language and so on and so forth, all that stuff is being faked. Because, deep down inside, you could be depressed like, you just lost your best friend or your dog died or something, I don't know. So, very good. So believe it or not, the code approach in this binary state is depression. That's why they call it cold approach pickup, because you're approaching a stranger. She has no reason to be warm to you. So you should not be expecting anything but a good reaction or a bad reaction. Now, that being said, a lot of guys are going to hear this and confuse it and think, well, does that mean if the girl tells me no or if she rejects me, that I just go on to the next set? Quite to the contrary. Because going back to the computer analogy, a computer uses both zeros and the ones. So if it's a negative or a zero, it uses that just as much as it uses a one or is positive. So if a girl is being, not necessarily mean to you, but she give you some kind of resistance, that's a zero reaction or a negative reaction. But it's still one that can be worked with, especially if you are in your depressed state, or I should say semi-depressed state, and you just don't care. Last night I was hanging out, trying to pick up girls on the street, and several times I would walk up to a girl, and she would, look at me and wave her finger like, no, I don't want to talk to you. But because I was in a semi-depressed state, and I still was able to fake the four fundamentals, and I was able to talk to the girl, hold her hand, and even have the girl at the end of the day say, hey, excuse me, and this has happened to me several times in a row. Last night, something to the effect that, well, I want you to be my boyfriend. He's pretty hot girls too. So how can you explain that? Well, that's because, again, I'm in a depressed state. I'm not, some guys try to call it not seeking improvement, but it's a little deeper than that, because when you're in a semi-depressed state, you really, really don't care, but you do it anyways. It's different than a lot of PUAs and top dating coaches will tell you that, don't seek approval or be indifferent, stuff like that, but they still try to tell you to be in state. A lot of them anyways. So, and what I'm trying to say is that's really not feasible. So, anyways, that's some of the thoughts I had, and look like I finished my meal, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But stay tuned to more information about Code Approach. It's a new website just going to come out, codeapproach.net, where eventually, sometime in the future, you're going to be able to download a new operating system software, whatever you want to call it, and so you can create your own virtual coach and coach yourself out there in the field. And then, of course, my Spider Bite Venom, both the cocoa mix and the carbonated water drink. So, anyway, this has been the Genius for Lean Keto-Times, and until the next time, keep taking action.